Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Real Pod. I'm recording my first solo episode in the home studio, the home stude, and I'm so excited. This is just so fun. This was my vision. I could just kind of roll into the studio, sit down, and start recording, and I'm just so excited. So if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, you're seeing two angles of the set. We're working it. Today's episode is one that I have been wanting to do for over a year because I've made a pretty big lifestyle change and it has been game changing. I seriously don't know how I was even living my life at home prior to my decluttering era. Now I understand why when my mom used to come over and say, "Sweetie, how can you live like this?" And I would be like, "Mom, just stop judging me. No, not everyone's house is as clean as yours." I fully understand what she meant because once you go to the decluttered life, you don't really look back. So today, I'm going to take you through the 7 ways to declutter your living space based on my personal experience. And I hope that these are helpful. I hope that they're inspiring. I remember when I was in this phase, I tried to find a podcast like this and I couldn't. It's almost like you need that best friend to hype you up and be like, "It's go time. We're getting rid of all the shit. You're going to have a peaceful home, and this is how we're going to do it." And that's what I'm hoping to deliver to you today. We're going to jump right in because me kind of explaining the context for why I did this in the first place and why it's been so game-changing for me is in reason number 1. So here we go with the 7 ways to declutter your living space. Number 1, establish your why. This is so important because throughout the process, you're going to resort back to your old habits and your old ways, and you need to be able to have a really strong sense of why you even did this in the first place. Have you ever started cleaning your room or your office because you got 5-minute gust of motivation and then you tear apart your room and you're looking at a massive pile and thinking, "I don't want to do this anymore." And you go watch TV or something and you've created more of a mess than you already had. So this is why we need our why, people. It keeps us going. My why was that I was sick of living in clutter. And it wasn't filth. It wasn't dirty. Like if you rubbed your finger on a countertop, you weren't going to get loads of dust and nothing smelled. But I just had a ton of stuff. I had way more clothes than I needed. I had tons of stuff in my kitchen cabinets, like utensils, pots, pans that I just wasn't using. I had tons of mugs and cups, and we're 2 people living at home, and I just didn't need any of it. So I got to this place where I just felt like I couldn't even rest or feel at peace in my own home because of how much stuff there was. And this relates to mental health because when you are feeling anxious or you are feeling overworked or burnt out and you come home and your place is visually overstimulating and you feel like even if you lay on the couch, you're staring at a pile of stuff or your kitchen wasn't clean or there's dishes in the sink. And you can't even really relax because you just can see all the looming tasks and chores that you have. That's how I was feeling. I don't want to shame anyone who is currently living that lifestyle because I think the worst it's ever been for me was when I was in college and it was my sophomore year and Aubrey and I were sharing a bedroom and we had 2 twin beds in it. And there was so little space that the foot of her bed hit the head of my bed. So we were practically in a connecting L bed. I could literally go like this in the morning, reach my right hand out and touch her toes. And all over the floor, we just had piles of stuff. We both had a tiny dresser that had all of these knickknacks on it. And I just felt like I had so much to do. I was so depressed. Cleaning the room was the last thing I could do. So if you're in a place in your life where you are struggling to find the will, I empathize with that, and I don't want you to beat yourself up over it. When you do get the energy and you want to start making changes in your life to better your mental health and protect your mental health, this is who I'm talking to in this moment. So all in all, I just say my biggest why was I want to feel peace at home. And I didn't feel that way with all of these things. And then secondly, what was really aspirational for me was this idea of a minimalist home. I don't know how I first came across it. It might have been a video on TikTok. I came across this account called the Barta House, and I was just going down the rabbit hole of this woman's home where all she did was talk about minimalist living, having a simple home, tidying your home, and honestly tied it into mental health in a way I had never seen before. I think when the Marie Kondo stuff came out about sparking joy, I was like, that's awesome. It's really cool. But I didn't kind of understand the deeper connection to one's self and overall state of mind. But this account really connected those dots for me. So I got hooked on this idea of having a simple home. And I forget what article it was that I read, but I saw somewhere that Shailene Woodley said that she could fit every item she owns in a suitcase. And by every item, I meant like all of her clothes. I think she was like, all of my clothes. Maybe she said everything I own. Everything I own, I can fit in a suitcase. And I thought, that is wild. I can't even imagine like how many suitcases I would need for everything that I own. So I just made the decision that it was time in my life for me to do this. Hopefully that inspires your why, but each of us have to find it for ourselves and then let it kind of guide us and keep us going on this journey. My second tip is to start in phases. It can be very overwhelming to look all around your living space and think, how am I going to do all of this? And also, when you get this fiery determination, you want it done like yesterday. That's how I am. I want my everything. I've decided I want a simple home. Okay, it needs to be simple right this second. One of my favorite phrases is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Not that anyone would eat an elephant, but the metaphor being like, it seems impossible, but not if you take baby steps. So start with your bedroom, or start with the kitchen, and then the office, and then the storage closet, and then the mudroom. Whatever the rooms are you have in your house, start in phases. Make one be your project for a week, for a month, however long it takes. But I don't think doing it all at once is the way I would approach it, because you want to be able to start it and know you can finish it. I think I started with the kitchen. This was in my last apartment because that was just such a central part of our apartment because we had an open floor plan. I just needed the kitchen to be visually less cluttered, and I knew that that would help influence the other parts of my space. So tip number 1 was establish our why, and tip number 2 was start in phases. Number 3, and I'm going to spend some time on this one because this is a mentality, and this is where I feel like some of my athlete instincts and just like aggression actually help with decluttering my life. I've come up with a little saying that you can call on because I was trying to think about the best way to kind of sum up this mentality you need to have to actually do this. And the phrase is, cut the shit, get rid of it. I'm very proud of it. It rhymes. I hope you like it. So number 3 is cut the shit, get rid of it. You just have to change your mentality and be ruthless about creating a simple home and protecting your simple home. This is something that Max actually compliments me a lot on now because I obviously started this and then it rubbed off on him. But all the time now I will see him getting rid of things that aren't serving him and aren't necessary. And I forget what the example is, but the other day I think he was like, I'm getting rid of this and I wouldn't have done it if it weren't for you. This is really, your whole decluttering has been a really good influence on me. And I was like, yes, Max has adopted the mantra, cut the shit, get rid of it. And the reason why I feel like it has to be so kind of slap across the face is because I know how easy it is to open up your bathroom cabinet under your sink that's so messy and has all this stuff, and you're like, but maybe on the 4th of July, I'm actually going to want to put this body glow like on my arms and legs. The body glow you've never once used in your life and you didn't use last year and you didn't use the year before, but maybe this year I might use it. No, that is a moment I would say cut the shit, get rid of it. You're lying to yourself. We have like boxes of Q-tips and extra lotion, or maybe you got your shampoo and conditioner at Costco, so it comes with like more options and items, which I love a deal, but those don't all have to live underneath your bathroom cabinet. You can keep the ones you are using currently in your shower, right? I put my shampoo and my conditioner in my shower, and then anything that's extra, let's take that all and let's move it into a space or a box or a cabinet that can be extra products. Another thing that makes it hard to cut the shit and get rid of it is this fear or this worry that what if I will need it one day? And I think that is something that was big for me. I kind of developed this like hoarder mentality from my dad and my yaya. Both my dad and my yaya just like love to keep things. My yaya's house is like full of trinkets. My dad's office, I mean, he still has like a little thing I cut out for him in kindergarten, somehow still standing up on his desk. And I think that's cute. There's going to be memories and things that you don't want to get rid of. But I definitely inherited that from them, was just this like love of physical items and what they mean to me. And it made it really hard for me to declutter in the beginning. But I found this quote on the Barta House, which is the Instagram that has been really helpful for me. And it said, "You may think to yourself, but what if I might need it in the future?" And she continues, "Create the home you need for this time in your life. Chances are you will love this simple lifestyle and you will find you need less and less." And I thought that was so powerful because when we think we might need it in the future, we're allowing the present version of us that's clearly craving something different kind of stay trapped in these patterns that we don't actually want, but it's for this possible future situation. This was just really impactful for me, especially when it came to things in my kitchen. Like Max and I said, we had so many mugs, so many cups, so many wine glasses. And I would always tell myself, oh, but when I host, like if I have like 15 people over, I'm gonna need it all. I cannot tell you the last time I had 15 people over. And even when I do think of the time that I did that, no one sat down and had a formal dinner. And the idea that every morning Max and I are going to open our cabinet to grab a cup for my AG1 or Element or something. And I'm like sifting through all these colorful mugs that don't match and these mix-matched canisters to find like the one that I actually use, right? Because we all have that one that we like using. It's just causing that mental clutter, that distress, and it's kind of making your decision making harder. So if you're worried that you're going to need it one day, just remind yourself you're creating the home you need now. And I can't tell you how cathartic it feels to open up my kitchen cabinets and see like 4 mugs and see 6 water glasses. And I really don't need more than that. And about the keepsakes, if you feel like it's really hard for you to get rid of something, you know, the outfit that I got engaged to Max in, the jeans, I no longer wanted them. They were always a little too short for me. And I knew I wasn't going to pull them. And I didn't want them taking up space in my closet. But I didn't want to throw them away. They're the jeans that I got engaged in. So I folded them up and I put them in a memory box along with the shirt that I wore. The shoes, I got rid of those. You can't keep everything, but the things that are like really hard for you to get rid of, I don't think you should necessarily break that bond, but you do need to have the self-awareness to know like, okay, I can't keep the entire outfit I got engaged in down to the shoes, the jewelry, the bra I was wearing. Like, you know, maybe honestly, now that I talk about it, the jeans thing feels like I could have done better. I actually don't know if I kept the jeans. I definitely kept the white lace top, but all in all, there might be 6 things that remind you of a special day. Can you just keep one? And one more example I'll give about how to cut the shit and get rid of it is the other day I was once again decluttering things that were kind of like in my office and just weren't needed. Even like my office desk, I just want to show up and I want to have my computer, I want to have my mouse, maybe a picture of a friend, maybe one little knickknack, and that's it. But then I look at things like, oh, but this is a gift my friend got me, or but this is a photo that I really like. And I had this knickknack that I was given by some of my best friends, and it was expensive and it's beautiful, but it didn't have a place in my home anymore. And I'd had it for about 3 years, and there were times it was on display and I cherished it. And now it just didn't fit in with where I'm at style-wise and with how I'm decorating my home. And I looked at it and I smiled thinking of how sweet it was that these friends got it for me as a gift. And then I got rid of it because I have other things these friends have given me that I still use in my everyday life. And I don't need to keep this. And lastly, the last thing I'm going to say about this, and the reason I'm harping on it is because I know how hard it is. I know you will feel motivated, you will go, you will try to clean, and then you won't do it. So one more thing I can share with you is when it feels wasteful, because it will. It is really hard to get rid of things and think, I feel so wasteful getting rid of this extra makeup or these extra plates or these extra clothes, but I know I don't need them. You have a few options, okay? You can maybe give it to friends, send some pictures in the group chat. Anyone want this? Anyone want to take this? Nothing makes me happier than when my friends or family want items that I'm just no longer going to use anymore. And it's not that they're ugly or I don't like them. It's just I don't need 10 sweatsuits. I don't. I need to just keep my 5 favorite, and then maybe 6 through 10 are really cute, but I just don't need them. So sometimes the things we're not keeping are really nice and it's hard to let go, but we just know it's not for us. You can give to your friends. You could put it on Poshmark or Facebook Marketplace, although that takes time. And sometimes I think about if I'm going to sell something for like, I don't know, $20, I'm like thinking of the hours I'll put in doing it. And I'm like, I'm going to make like $5 per hour of doing this. Like, is that worth it? It'll depend on the person and the situation, but unless it's something that you really think you're going to get some bang for your buck, be wary of the emotional time and energy you're going to spend on trying to do that. And that's why I lean a lot towards donating, just putting everything in a box or a bin and donating to Goodwill or Salvation Army. And the last thing I'll say is the intuitive eating theory about waste, and you might have heard me say this before, but in one of the intuitive eating books I read, it talked about this idea of feeling wasteful when you don't finish your meal. And I know that can be difficult for a lot of people who were raised in households that said, Don't be wasteful, finish your whole plate. Or there's a kid somewhere in the world that would be dying to have this meal and you're not going to finish it. And so then you grow up and it's like, hey, my body's telling me I'm full, but I'm looking at half of a sandwich and I feel really bad not eating it. But here's the thing. In the intuitive eating theory, if your body has received all of the nutrients and the energy that it needs from food, and it's signaling to you, I'm at capacity, I'm not craving any more nutrients, the food you then have after that isn't going to be used to give your body energy and keep your body going because your body's telling you it already has what it needs. So technically, that food is waste. So that food can either be not working in your body or not working in the trash. Of course, you can save leftovers, or maybe someone in your family wants to eat the half sandwich. But for the premise of the metaphor, the food is waste either way. And I think that this applies to decluttering your life. If you have 10 sweaters that you know you're never going to wear because every time it's cold, you pull these 6 other sweaters before you pull those sweaters are waste. They're not being used. So they can either sit in your closet, smushing all your clothes together and causing you mental fatigue every time you go to pick out an outfit, or they can be occupying space somewhere else, maybe in someone else's closet. But even if there's a scenario where you can't donate it for some reason or your friend doesn't want it, once again, it's waste in your closet or it's waste somewhere else. And we just have to start choosing to not store that in our sacred space of home. Okay, I'm moving on, but I'm hoping that all of that is helping you cut the shit and get rid of it. Number 4, everything needs a place to go. With the things you do want to keep, it is game changing for everything to have a little home of its own. You have extra chargers, have a little box in a drawer that says extra chargers and put your chargers in there. You have pencils, have a drawer where you put all your pencils. Blankets, have a blanket basket. Shoes, have a shoe rack. And it's cheap. You can get this stuff on Amazon. In just creating little cabinets and storage places to put things, that way things don't get left out on the counter, they don't get spread out on the floor. When everything has a place to go, it's easy to keep your house tidy and clean. I actually have a current problem because Max likes to throw his clothes on the floor on his side of the bed. So yes, one approach could be, hey, Max, can we not do that? But also, it's just his habit. It's what he does. Sometimes you just get home and you want to just take your clothes off and hop into bed and you don't want to go hang them up or put them in the laundry or whatnot. So I now put a laundry basket in the bedroom. So you can just literally walk 3 steps and instead of putting them on the floor, you're just putting them in this basket that's in the bedroom. So finding a way to make your current habits more tidy, if that makes sense. Also, sometimes we can have cabinets where we put all of our forks or we put all of our extra papers for the printer, whatever it might be. But inside those cabinets, can you create even more organization? By ordering those really cheap drawers off of Amazon. That's what I do. And so within my cabinet, I now have a bin where all of the extra stuff for the printer and the tech goes, and another bin where all of the gear for the hidden opponent, right, that I want to wear when I go speak about THO or I do an event with Adidas, but I don't necessarily need it in my everyday closet. I have it in my THO bin. So just creating more organization based on how you're living your life. So number 4 is everything needs a place to go. Number 5, and this one I think is game changing, is reimagine your space. I think what happens is we either are raised living somewhere and our room is always the way it has been, or we move into an apartment and we kind of just decorate it and organize it the way we needed when we moved in. But all of a sudden it's 3 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, and you are just living a different life and you have different habits and your space isn't really working for you. So an example of this is when Max and I moved into our last apartment, we had a Peloton just bam, smack dab in the center of the living room against this wall. And it fit perfectly. And at the time, we were really into Peloton. We were coming out of COVID. We'd been doing the bike a lot. And we were like, great, we can't get rid of this bike. We want to keep it here. But then as we started going back to workout classes and walking outside, we just weren't using it as much anymore. But I guess I just thought, well, that's where the Peloton goes. Until I started looking at my space differently and thinking, what could this wall be used for if the bike wasn't there? Because I'm not using the bike anymore. So what we did is we got rid of the Peloton. Someone else wanted it. So now they're using it, which is great. And we put a dresser there with 6 big drawers. And all of a sudden, Max and I now had more storage for clothes. And I couldn't believe that it took me that long to just remind myself I can do my space differently. Another thing is my current laundry room. It's pretty small. It's barely a laundry room. It's at the end of the kitchen. But I had all these bags piling up, and I like to keep some bags in case I'm like going to the grocery store or I'm bringing someone something they left at my house. Like I like to have an extra Lululemon bag or an extra paper bag or a grocery bag. So I put a little hook on the wall, and now I hang those bags, and I only keep like 5. So I encourage you to just like look around your living space and think, do I need shelves? Do I need this chair in this corner that I literally never sit in and instead I just throw clothes on it, right? Do I actually need to keep all of these pens and pencils, or do I only use my same 4 favorite markers and I can actually get rid of these 50? So I think it's really important to reimagine your space. One more example of this is when we moved into this apartment, I put a little trash bin under Max's office desk and he fills it up really quick. So got him a bigger trash bin. The small one wasn't working for him anymore. I can take that and put that in the guest bathroom and I can get him a bigger trash bin. So constantly looking for ways to reimagine your space and make sure it's working for you in your current life. All right, we are on our final lap, people. Entering points 6 and finally 7. Starting with 6, this tip is seasonal storage. This was so game-changing for me. I just feel like it makes no sense for it to be summer and me to live in California and to open my closet and see all of my winter clothes, to see heavy leather jackets, winter sweaters, long sleeves, winter boots, when I'm literally not gonna pull them for at least 3 months. So fortunately, in this new apartment, I do have an additional closet. So that's where I've put things that are for a different season. If you don't have an extra closet, you can take those extra clothes or those extra garments and you can nicely fold them, put them in a big trash bag, and then you can put that trash bag, whether it's in the bathroom shower that you never use, in a storage cabinet, you can shove it under the bed, you can get those compartments that go under the bed and lift your bed up. However you need to store it, just to get it out of your immediate view every single day. Going back to this idea of how this affects my mental health, it was just like so mentally fatiguing to have too many options when more than half of them I'm literally not going to use until it's October. So seasonal storage has been huge. I move things I'm not using during the summer away, and then when it's not summer, I move my fall things in. And you can get creative with this. Like Max and I have this random narrow staircase that goes up to the roof of the building, and we never go up to the roof of the building. There's nothing up there. It's literally roof. But there's this staircase. So we use that staircase to put these extra trash bags, to put the blankets and the duvet covers for when guests come sleep over. So you can find ways to be creative. Like I said, whether you're lifting the bed, we're using a staircase, to just get these items out of your everyday face when you're not using them. So seasonal storage has been major. And then the 7th thing is to declutter regularly. This is obvious, but once you start to make these habits, I think continuing to push yourself to take the 10 minutes at the end of the day to put everything back where it goes, and also take notes. You know, I've had nights where I'm like, oh, I don't even know where this would go. It doesn't have a place. Okay, mental note. I need to find an extra box to put under our bar cabinet. I even feel like in my office right now, I have a few too many knickknacks that I don't need. I actually have these 2 little plaques that are sitting on my office desk, and I'm looking at my wall thinking I should get a little baby shelf, and I should put the shelf up there, and then I should put the little plaques up there. Then they're not sitting on my workspace on this small desk and taking up the area where I want to work every day and feel like I have the creative energy. Actually, in our bedroom, this bothers me so much. I don't know if you've ever seen it in my mirror pics of my outfit in my room. You probably haven't, because we're all just neurotic about our own things. But in the very back, Max always has this giant cord where his phone charger is next to the bed, and it just like pops out of the wall. It doesn't fit. And so I am going to order on Amazon one of those little tape things so I can like feed the wire back through the wall, have it come up the back of his nightstand, and then just pop out right there for his phone to go on his nightstand, and we can get all the cords pushed back. So I am nowhere near perfect, and I continue to find ways to optimize, declutter, and tidy regularly. All right, that is my 7 ways to declutter your living space. I'll take you through it one more time. The first is to establish your why. The second is to start in phases. The third is to cut the shit and get rid of it. The fourth is everything needs a place to go. Number 5 is reimagine your space. Number 6 is seasonal storage. And 7 is declutter regularly. I really hope this was helpful. I hope this gave you motivation. I hope that you either listen to this while decluttering things or immediately after this, you are feeling encouraged to go declutter. I am posting today on my Instagram a lot of before and afters of my space before my decluttering era and then after. So if you need further inspiration, you can go check this out. And I will say, at heart, I'm probably a messy girl, but I believe in us and I believe that we can adjust our ways, continue to improve. And thank you for listening and being along for the ride. I will be back next week with a brand new episode of Real Pod, so make sure you tune in, and thanks again for listening. Have a great day and happy decluttering.